Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor of the City of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to welcome everybody to the City of Chicago, and on behalf of the residents, I want to thank all the Nobel laureates who've traveled many miles to come here. Those miles traveled are like all the immigrants who have come to Chicago and traveled many miles. Because this is a city, we were at Von Steuben today, 126 nationalities, 5 continents at that school. It speaks volumes about the city of Chicago because while the world, literally 10,000 classrooms around the country are live streaming this event, I am most excited about this event for the Nobel laureates, but because it's so integrated into the Chicago public school system, that the kids of today can ask questions of world leaders who shape the world that they're living in today. There is no, in my view, this is the most American of American cities. 27 miles of beaches and over 27 languages spoken here in the city of Chicago. It made its mark on the global stage every day because of its immigrant culture and because of its economics and business and trade. This is an essential event to talking through with students and world leaders about how to shape a future that is where you see injustice, where you see economic injustice, where you see a political system that's not responsive, how one individual with courage and character can make a difference. And I cannot speak enough, before recognizing also all the laureates, how honored I am to have the Kennedy family here and for their dedication to making this a great event for the city of Chicago, and particularly making sure with us that this is a great event for the children of the city of Chicago. And I can say this having gone once toe-to-toe with Ethel Kennedy. That's a tough woman. Again, I look forward, as all of you, to hearing from each of these world leaders from a diverse background, what they have to say as it relates to making sure how any individual or a political system can be changed for the better. So again, on behalf of the city of Chicago, thank you, and I look forward to a great 3 days about making sure that we will understand what character and courage can do when it comes to fighting for peace and justice. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Walter Veltroni, co-chair of the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the Mayor of Chicago and the Governor of Illinois for their friendly and outstanding welcome. Chicago has always been a reference for us Europeans since the time of the intellectual diaspora in the tragic years of Nazism. Many talents arrived here, fleeing from a continent plunged into the darkness of the war. Among them, Ms. van der Rohe, Alexander Archipenko, and Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. Chicago has been the capital of asylum and peace ever since. And it is also the city from where the political activity of another Nobel Peace Laureate has begun, President Barack Obama. Such a tradition is renewed today on this occasion, thanks to the presence of men and women whose lives represent our highest values. Let me address my special thanks to the Nobel laureates and the representatives of the Nobel organization who accepted our invitation. My personal warm regards, therefore, go to my friend Mikhail Gorbachev for being here with us. I would also like to thank the Chicago hosting committee and especially my close friend Kerry Kennedy for the hard work they put in the organization of this edition of the summit. The story of her family and the Kennedy's ideas are still alive in those who care about the future and the progress of mankind. My deep gratitude, finally, to our permanent secretariat of the World Summit, who has worked to promote and to organize such an important event, like it did in past in Rome, Paris, Berlin, and Hiroshima. We are living in a period full of contradictions. As mankind's path itself has always been contradictory, marked by achievements and falls, hopes and fears. Fear originates from the unknown and the feeling that one's own space is no longer safe. Fear originates when you risk losing your acquired safety. The major economic crisis affecting the world not only produces instability, but also increases inequality. Fear and insecurity, increased by recession, jeopardize one of the most important human rights, the right to work and the right to live in dignity. Nonetheless, other than fear, we have also seen growing hope. The hope of North Africa's people and of the youth leading the Arab Spring. The hope of the Syrian people to finally get out of the darkness and oppression imposed by Assad's regime. The hope of the Burma people, rallied around their leader Aung San Suu Kyi, now free to have her say in the parliament and to finally consolidate democracy in her country. Hope can win on fear. Change to reduce the huge gaps dividing the world can be a greater and more fascinating objective to achieve than keeping everything in its place, including injustices and inequalities, even in these difficult times. It is not an easy challenge, and many will consider it visionary, unachievable, and unrealistic. Those people, however, should listen to the words of Benjamin Ferenc, chief prosecutor in Nuremberg trial, when after World War II, everything had to be rebuilt and it seemed impossible. He used to say to those who were skeptical, "Can you see where the realists have led us in this world? Do you like what they have left to us? If you like it, then be realistic and let crimes, homicides, and genocide continue. If you don't like it, then keep living as dreamers, as idealists. Be faithful to your youth's ideals, and one day we will see a better world." Thank you very much.
Please direct your attention to the video screens for a special message from President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I did want to take a moment to thank all of the Nobel Peace Laureates who are gathered right now in Chicago. I know how fortunate my hometown feels to have you there and how inspiring your stories will be for all the students. I also want to thank the Robert F. Kennedy Center for helping make this event possible. Bobby Kennedy was a hero of mine. He was a hero of so many around the world because he believed that we all have a moral obligation to recognize the difference between right and wrong, to feel others' suffering as our own, and to do something about it. That's his legacy. That's the legacy of the Nobel laureates who are there today. And that's the lesson for all you students. Never forget that no matter where you're from, no matter how humble your circumstances, you have the power to advance the cause of human rights, to speak out when you see injustice, to stand up for those who are being held down. All it takes is one voice. Let that voice be yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kerry Kennedy, President of the Robert F. Kennedy Center of Justice and Human Rights and co-chair of the Chicago Host Committee for the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates.
Thank you. On behalf of the Host Committee of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Prize Laureates and my fellow co-chairs, Terry Mazzani and the Chicago Community Trust, Bob Gallucci and MacArthur Foundation, Michael Sachs and World Business Chicago, and my extraordinary brother, Christopher Kennedy, welcome to this amazing gathering. We are joined today by 5 heads of state, 21 Nobel Peace Prize winners, Governor Quinn, Mayor Emanuel, Sean Penn, and some of America's greatest actors, RFK Compass, leaders from the financial and business communities, foundations, activists for social justice, union organizers, teachers, makers of peace, all. I want to make a special thanks to our incredible sponsors without whom none of us would be here. So thank you to Grosvenor Special Management, Jeep, Coventry, Vista Equity Partners, Bank of America, Clear Channel Airports, HMM Harris Bank, DePaul University, Harris Associates, J.W. Marriott Chicago, Robert McCormick Foundation, Scholastic, Spencer Foundation, Wendy and Jimmy Abrams, the Joyce Foundation, Northern Trust, Liz and Eric Lakowski, University of Illinois, Chicago, Christina and Jonah Goodhart, ASCA, Chicagoland Entrepreneurial Services, State of Illinois Office of Tourism, J.P. Morgan Chase, Leslie Bloom and David Heflin, Susan Crown and Bill Kunkler, Ambassador Faye Hartog Levin and Dan Levin, the Field Museum, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra Association, and the Art Institute of Chicago. Thank you. My father, Bobby Kennedy, said, "Speak up, speak out for justice and peace." That is the theme of this conference. We have many luminaries here, but I'd like to address my remarks to the students from U of I and the 15 other universities, a multitude of high schools across Illinois, and millions joining us via Cyberlink in the United States and throughout the world. Let's hear it for the students. As you listen to the stories of the Nobel laureates, you will note that they all have one quality in common: courage. Courage is bravery, a willingness to overcome fear, combined with compassion, a willingness to act on behalf of others. Many of them have faced imprisonment and torture and even death for their activism. Moral courage takes this a step further. Moral courage means standing up not just to governments and armies, but to friends and family. It is the willingness to be ostracized by your community for what you believe is right. Moral courage is the rarest form of valor in the adult world, and yet it is the one that you as students are called upon to muster every single day. Because every time you hear a sexist joke or a racial slur, every time you hear the words faggot or slut or fatso or retard, you must make a decision. Will I be a perpetrator, a victim, a bystander, or a human rights defender? And each time you make that decision on which role you will play, you are exercising a muscle, making that muscle stronger. And that muscle is defining who you are at your school, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your life, and most importantly, when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning. So as you hear the stories of the Nobel laureates, listen carefully. They have chosen the role of defender. They are the Martin Luther Kings and Jane Addams of their countries. Again and again, they enter the mouth of hell in local communities and come face to face with unspeakable human agony. And while others respond with indifference or hand-wringing, they relieve suffering and save lives. Martin Luther King said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Over the past 30 years, these men and women and their small groups of determined people, imbued with moral courage in the quest for peace, have bent history itself and transformed the world. 30 years ago, right-wing military dictatorships ruled throughout Latin America. Today, virtually all of Latin America enjoys progressive democratic governments. Communism dominated Eastern Europe. Today, there's not a communist government left in the region. South Africa suffered under the agony of apartheid. Today, South Africa has had a series of freely elected leaders elected by the majority of its people. And at the time, women's rights was not on the international agenda. Today, CEDAW, the Women's Rights Convention, has been ratified by 183 different countries. All these changes came about not because governments wanted them to, governments tried to stop them, and not because militaries wanted them to, great armies tried to stop them, and not because huge multinational corporations wanted them to. Multinational corporations tried to stop them, but because people with few resources beyond their own determination fought for human rights. Individuals banded together and created change. They harnessed the dream of freedom and they made it come true. And their efforts created a ripple effect, encouraging others, building a tidal wave which swept down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Those individuals and small groups of people are the Nobel Peace Prize winners here with us today. Just as they challenge governments, they challenge each of us to move beyond physical comforts to a higher order of aspirations. Their determination, valor, and commitment in the face of overwhelming danger challenges each of us to take up the torch for a more decent society. They are not saints, frozen in some fresco, but living, breathing human beings in our midst, the embodiment of the values we need to propagate a world growing ever more violent. So remember, as you hear their stories, that it is not the harrowing experiences that are the lesson, not the torture, not the rape, not the death threats. This is not about being a victim. The real story is not the repression, but the resistance, not the terror, but the courage, not the futility, but the power of one to create change. So this summit is more than a series of information sessions. The laureates and the lives they've chosen to live are a challenge to all of us. Who among us is willing to speak truth to power? Bobby Kennedy said, "Those with the courage to enter the moral conflict will find themselves with companions in every corner of the globe." Let's band together with the winners of the Nobel Peace Prize, with every person in this hall. Let's muster that moral courage that resides within. Let's stride confidently into the moral conflict, and let's speak up and speak out for justice and peace. Thank you very much. I'm back. Thank you. It is now my great honor to introduce one of my best friends, a woman who has performed in Speak Truth to Power across the United States and around the world, and a great, great actress and singer, Gloria Rueben.
Thank you. Thank you, Kerry. Such an honor to be here this afternoon. For the past 6 months, thousands of Chicago public school students have been studying the lives of the Nobel laureates through the Robert F. Kennedy Center's Speak Truth to Power curriculum. Mayor Emanuel, J.C. Blizzard, and the Spencer Foundation have partnered with the RFK Center to encourage schools and teachers to continue to use the curriculum into the future. It is the sincere hope of all Summit partners that Chicago public school teachers will make a commitment to teach the Speak Truth to Power lessons for the next 5 years, and that many more teachers will follow their lead. As part of the opening ceremony of the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates, Chicago's Steppenwolf Theater Company is directing a version of the Speak Truth to Power play, Voices from Beyond the Dark. Please welcome the actors who will be performing this play: Richard Kind, Zoe Harris, Freddie Mauricio, Alfre Woodard, Melanie Nealon, Trevor Donovan, Lilia Escobar, Corey Sutton, Laura Innes, and Brandon Rivera. Courage begins with one voice. It's that simple.
I did what I had to do. That is what we know.
You walk into the corridor of death, and you know.
My name is Lech Walesa. The world reacted with silence or with mere sympathy when Polish frontiers were crossed by invading armies and the sovereign state had to succumb to brutal force. We shall not yield to violence. We shall not be deprived of union freedoms. We shall never agree with sending people to prison for their convictions. We hold our heads high, despite the price that we have paid, because freedom is priceless. Speak up, speak out for freedom and rights.
My name is Shirin Ebadi. I am not a leader of any sort, nor am I the head of any political movement, but I shall continue my work for justice. The government wants to intimidate me so that I do not carry on. I am not going to give in and do as it wants me to. Speak truth to power.
My name is Mikhail Gorbachev. Politicians have been slow to embrace the importance of working to end poverty and deal with mounting environmental challenges, but citizens, especially younger people, are getting it. Mankind is now more aware of these problems, and that is what makes me optimistic that the situation will begin to change. We can only have a common future, a future for all or no future at all. Speak up, speak out for freedom and rights.
My name is F.W. de Klerk. Peace does not fare well where poverty and deprivation reign. It does not flourish where there's ignorance and a lack of education and information. Peace is gravely threatened by intergroup fear and envy and by the unleashing of unrealistic expectations. Racial, class, and religious intolerance and prejudice are its mortal enemies. Speak up. Speak out for freedom and rights.
My name is Jody Williams. The crux of the problem is that while the use of the weapon might be militarily justifiable during the day of the battle, or even 2 weeks of the battle, or maybe even 2 months of the battle, once peace is declared, the landmine does not recognize that peace. The war ends. The landmine goes on killing. Speak truth to power.
My name is Mohammed Yunus. We can remove poverty from the surface of the earth only if we can redesign our institutions, like the banking institutions and other institutions. If we redesign our policies, if we look back on our concepts so that we have a different idea of poor people, speak truth to power.
My name is Jimmy Carter. For human beings to commit ourselves personally to the inhumanity of war, we find it necessary first to dehumanize our opponents, which is in itself a violation of the beliefs of all religions. Once we characterize our adversaries as beyond the scope of God's mercy and grace, their lives lose all value. We deny personal responsibility when we plant landmines, and days or years later, a stranger to us, often a child, is crippled or killed. From a great distance, we launch bombs or missiles with almost total impunity and never want to know the number or identity of the victims. Speak up, speak out for freedom and rights.
My name is Oscar Arias. To understand the true human cost of militarism, as well as the true impact of unregulated arms sales in the world today, we must understand that war is not just an evil act of destruction. It is a missed opportunity of humanitarian investment. Speak truth to power.
I am the Dalai Lama. So you see, it all starts with the individual. with asking what the consequences are of your actions. An ethical act is a non-harming act. And if we could enhance our sensitivity to others' suffering, the less we would tolerate seeing others' pain, and the more we would do to ensure that no action of ours ever causes harm. In Tibetan, we call this nyingje, translated generally as compassion. Speak up. Speak out for freedom and rights.
Courage begins with one voice.
If we don't do this, who will?
We owe something to the people left behind.
And God dusts us off, and God says, try again.
Life will only belong to you, only this once.
And so we continue, knowing this.
If we bring people to their own best hearts,
they will respond. That is what you know.
We were never alone. We did what we had to do.
The work has just begun.
Speak up. Speak out for freedom and rights.
Speak truth to power.
Good job, girls. Nice work.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now a distinct honor to bring forward students from Chicago Public High Schools who will proudly introduce the Nobel Peace Laureates of the 12th World Summit convened here in Chicago.
Hello, my name is Rashad Foster and I'm a student at Gage Park High School. It is with great pleasure and an honor to welcome the International Peace Bureau of the 12th Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Representing the IBP is their co-president, Ms. Ingeborg Brenes. The IBP focuses on subsistence, disarmament, and development worldwide. Their peacekeeping efforts were recognized in 1910 with the Nobel Peace Prize. Please welcome Ms. Ingeborg.
Hello, my name is Sohrab Moslehi, and I'm a 9th grader at Whitney Young Magnet High School. It is my honor to welcome Mr. Alexander Liebeskind, Secretary of the International Committee of the Red Cross and personal advisor to the President of the ICRC. The ICRC is known for its worldwide humanitarianism on behalf of people affected by conflict and armed violence. Their outstanding work in international aid has led to multiple Nobel Peace Prize awards in 1901, 1917, 1944, and 1963. And now I welcome Mr. Alexander Liebeskind.
Hello. The American Friends Service Committee is a multi-faith-based organization committed to social justice, peace, and humanitarian service. The AFSC's peace-building efforts have reached communities all over the world, and as a result of these efforts, the great organization received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1947. My name is Johalie Sotelo. I am a sophomore at Prosser High School, and I am honored to welcome the General Secretary of the AFSC, Dr. Shan Cretin.
Hello, my name is Manuel Medina. I am a senior at DeVry Advantage Academy High School. I am honored today to welcome the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, represented by Mr. Udo Jans, the director of the New York office. The UNHCR has helped coordinate international action to protect refugees and resolve refugee problems worldwide. Their work has been impactful for decades, leading to Nobel Peace Prizes in 1954 and 1981. I welcome you, Mr. Udo Jans.
It is an honor to welcome the United Nations Children's Fund. My name is Teresa Hernandez, a sophomore at John Hancock High School. UNICEF is represented by Ms. Carol Stern, President and CEO of the U.S. Fund. UNICEF's work toward bettering the lives of children worldwide has been nothing short of amazing. It is through their hard work and dedication to children that UNICEF earned them the Nobel Peace Prize in 1965.
Good afternoon. I am Georgina Espinoza, and I am a junior at Amundsen High School. And I am honored to welcome the International Labor Organization to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. The ILO is represented by Ms. Thelma Vial, Special Representative to the United Nations and Director of the ILO office in New York. The ILO is recognized for its work to promote fair international labor standards. Their efforts earned them the Nobel Peace Prize in 1969. And now with you, Ms. Thelma Vial.
Hello. My name is Brianna Sanders, and I am a freshman at Phoenix Military Academy High School. And I am honored to welcome Amnesty International to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Representing Amnesty International is Executive Director Ms. Suzanne Nossel. It was such a pleasure to learn about Amnesty's efforts to fight for human rights and protect people whenever justice, freedom, truth, and dignity are denied. Amnesty's dedication to protecting human rights earned them the Nobel Peace Prize in 1977.
Hello, my name is Ashley Montes, and I am a student at Roberto Clemente High School. I am proud to introduce our next speaker, Lech Walesa. He was the president of Poland from 1990 to 1995. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1983 for his efforts to establish workers and rights in his own country. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Walesa.
My name is Deja Perkins, and I am a sophomore at Morgan Park High School. I consider it an honor to welcome the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates, represented by Dr. Ira Helfand. The IPPNW's common goal is to create a more peaceful and secure world. The IPPNW's service to mankind, specifically raising awareness of the catastrophic consequences of atomic warfare, earned them the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985.
My name is Stephanie Barrera. I'm a freshman at Gage Park High School, and it's my honor to welcome His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. While learning about His Holiness in our social studies class, it became clear he is an international icon for peace. In 1989, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for spiritual leadership and nonviolent struggle for the liberation of Tibet.
It is with great pleasure that I present President Mikhail Gorbachev. My name is Manal Sala, and I'm a senior at Von Steuben Metropolitan Science Center. Speak Truth to Power taught me the reforms and contributions that President Gorbachev had in shaping our world. His actions to help end the Cold War and seize the arms race led to his receipt of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990. Please welcome Mikhail Gorbachev.
My name is Edith Haushin, and I am a senior at Chicago Academy High School. I am honored to welcome President Frederick Willem de Klerk, a man who actively campaigned to end apartheid in South Africa for the betterment of the region. This work and his efforts to create a democratic constitution in South Africa resulted in him receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. It is my honor to welcome Pugwash Conferences to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. My name is Valerie Ruiz, and I am a senior at North Grand High School. Representing Pugwash Conferences is their president, Dr. Jayantha Dhanapala. Learning about Pugwash Conferences and their efforts to diminish the part played by nuclear arms in international politics was incredibly informative. Their work to remove arms from international affairs earned Pugwash the Nobel Peace Prize in 1995.
It is with great honor that I welcome Professor Jody Williams. My name is Ariana Medrano, and I'm a freshman student at Infinity High School. Professor Williams' persistence and commitment to promote and sustain peace should be an inspiration to us all. Jody Williams has taught me that anybody can change the world. Her accomplishments resulted in a much safer world. The international campaign to ban landmines brought benefits to everyone and made historic treaty negotiations. The Mine Ban Treaty is flawless in the respect that it allows no exceptions or loopholes. Her efforts to ban landmines through the international campaign to ban landmines resulted in her reception of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1997. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Jody Williams.
My name is Marco Campos, and I am a senior at Social Justice High School. And it is my pleasure to welcome the International Campaign to Ban Landmines and their co-founder, Mr. Steve Goose, to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. It has been wonderful to learn about the ICBL's work, specifically the efforts to create a free world of anti-personal landmines. For this work and their contributions to the Mine Ban Treaty, ICBL won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1997. Please welcome Mr. Steve Goose.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maria Ortega, and I am a freshman at Lindblom Math and Science Academy. And I am honored to welcome Doctors Without Borders to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Representing Doctors Without Borders is Dr. Bruce Lamport, President of the Canadian office. Doctors Without Borders is a medical humanitarian organization that provides impartial and independent assistance to people in need around the world. Their dedication to international assistance has won them the Nobel Peace Prize in 1999. Please welcome Dr. Bruce Lamport.
It is an honor to welcome the United Nations to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureate. My name is Marta Moreno, and I am a senior at Roosevelt High School.
Representing the UN is His Excellency Ambassador Thomas Stelzer, Assistant Secretary General for Policy, Coordination, and Interagency Affairs. The UN's work to safeguard world peace and advance human rights was recognized with the 2001 Nobel Peace Prize. Please welcome Ambassador Thomas Stelzer.
My name is Ruby Tapia, and I'm a senior at Hancock High School. I'm honored to welcome President Jimmy Carter to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. President Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for his unwavering dedication to aid international conflict, advance human rights, and advance economic and social development.
Good afternoon. My name is Gabriella Weiss, and I'm a junior at Walter Payton College Prep High School. I'm honored to welcome Dr. Shirin Ebadi, who is an accomplished lawyer, judge, author, and activist, to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Dr. Ebadi has been recognized internationally for her work to promote social justice and human rights. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2003 for her work as an activist in Iran. Please welcome Dr. Ebadi.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Hernandez, and I am a senior at Lincoln Park High School. I am honored to welcome Professor Yunus to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Prize Laureates. Mr. Yunus has been recognized internationally for his work to promote economic and social development in Bangladesh. This included the launch of the Grameen Bank that provided loans for poor villagers. This work led Professor Yunus to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006.
My name is Jesus De Leon. I'm a senior at Chicago Academy High School, and I'm happy to welcome the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change to the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. Their chairman, Dr. Rajendra Kumar Pachari, represents the IPCC. The IPCC's effort to expand our knowledge of man-made climate change has enlightened young people around the world. The IPCC has awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Jody Williams, recipient of the 1997 Nobel Peace Prize.
Thank you very much. My name is Jody Williams, and I am a grassroots political activist. My first protest was against the Vietnam War in 1970. And then I worked for 11 years trying to stop U.S. military intervention in Central America, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. So I very much appreciated your words, President Carter, about U.S. war. Coincidentally, I had been talking with Steve Goose in the car earlier today, and we were talking about U.S. interventions since the inception of this country. And in one of the lists that I was perusing the other day, in answer to a student who had written me asking about it, I noted that there were only 24 years in the history of this country that we have not been engaged in some kind of military activity or CIA intervention, which is a clandestine military intervention. And I think, as President Carter said, it is really hard for us to point fingers at any other nation when we are a nation that so joyously seems to go to war. On that note, I switched to speaking to the students again, as President Carter did, in particular because I spend a fair amount of my time, as does Shirin Ebadi, the Dalai Lama, and others, in an organization called Peace Jam, in which, like Speak Truth to Power, is an organization that tries to teach young people that anyone has the power to change this world for the better for all of us. It is not magic. I get so tired of people who think that only those people, those famous people who won the Nobel Peace Prize, somehow they have this special power to change the world. And somehow, how could I possibly be like them? And when people especially say to me, Jody, I wish I could be like you, I keep saying, oh my God, young people, please wish to be better than me. If you want to know about me, talk to my mother. I was redeemed in her eyes when we did receive the Nobel Peace Prize. She got off my back about being a lawyer. But in all seriousness, the reason we changed the world in the landmine campaign, and then in the campaign to get rid of cluster munitions, and in the campaign that brought about the International Criminal Court, and in an effort that we will soon be looking at to get rid of killer robots, and yes, think Terminator, because that is what we are trying to build in this country, Terminator, no human involved. The reason that we succeeded is because we did not wait for anyone to give us permission to tackle a problem that we saw that we knew needed to be dealt with. We talk an awful lot about human rights, and obviously we support them. That is part of the work we do. However, we often seem to forget our human responsibility. Each and every one of us has power. Perhaps not the power of a president, but we have individual power as a human being to decide the choices that we are going to make every single day in our life and in our lives overall. We can choose to step back, and we can choose to look at the world and think, oh my God, it is so overwhelming. If I can't just snap my fingers and bring world peace tomorrow, I'm not going to do anything because it's a waste of time. I, on the other hand, believe that if each and every one of us who really wanted a better world for all of us, including self, I am not selfless. I have wants and needs and desires, and I can be nasty and furious just like anybody else. But if each and every one of us thought about the issue that most got them agitated, whether it is global warming or global poverty or bullying in your school or lesbian, gay, transgender issues or poverty in our communities, or the decreasing ability of people in the United States of America to protest without being harassed and criminalized in their protesting, if each and every one of us selected the issue that they most cared about and volunteered a few hours a month in an organization working on that issue, imagine what this world would be. Just imagine what this world would be. In our landmine campaign, in the campaign on cluster munitions, we had millions of people involved in many ways, some of whom could only give an hour a month, some of whom could only do things like hang pictures of mine victims in their stores, but they were willing to do that when we had a conference in the city to show that they supported. They didn't have to transform themselves into a daily activist. Activism is not necessarily working day in and day out, as I have had the privilege, and it is an extreme privilege I have had in my life, to be able to do what I have done to try to make the world better with the thousands of people that I have worked with to do that. But you don't have to be that way. All you have to do is care enough to take the first step. I was at a Peace Jam event a while back, and I've done so many I can't remember which, and there was a young girl who stood up to speak about what inspired her. And I don't remember the inspiration. What I remember is that she stood there and shook. She was so terrified at standing in front of people to reveal her feelings, and she shook. And then she managed to get it out, and then she ended by saying, I've just learned something. That real courage for me has been the ability to speak and say what I believe, even though my insides are quivering like jelly. To me, that is what we need to have young people in the world understand is courage. It's not being mindlessly fearless. It's not being macho and thinking you can dominate. It's facing your fears, facing your beliefs that maybe you can't make change happen, and still deciding to get up every single day and do something to change this world. Because when we sit back, no matter what our age, and we wait for the other guy to fix it, we are giving up our power, we are abdicating our power, and we are letting other people have it. And then they will use it to make the world they want to see. I will end with a couple comments. Yesterday, I was able to spend with Human Rights Watch over at the Hull House, speaking to people from the community. And I was humbled, sort of, in my own way of humility, which isn't very strong. I have to admit. I have to admit it. You tell truth to power, you tell it to yourself. I'm not a humble human, but I try very hard. I was in Jane Addams' house, and one of the things that inspired me more than all the marvelous things that you can see there, and if you have a chance to go to the museum, please go. First American woman to receive the prize. We went up, yeah, rock on, sister. But we went up to her bedroom, and there we saw her prize. I lost mine between my sheets and my socks for about 6 months. I couldn't find the thing. It's only a round piece of gold. I mean, honestly, the prize is only a tool to make you better able to do the work you want to do. In and of itself, it's nothing. In and of itself, it's nothing. The actions you do are what matters. Well, Jane Addams' little piece of stuff was there, and right beside it, displayed, was her extremely thick FBI file. And it made me think of the grassroots type activists, like Sharin, like Dr. Martin Luther King, myself, who has been a grassroots activist forever, and the harassment that happens. I want to see my FBI file. I haven't bothered to get it because it would probably be so heavy I couldn't lift it, but the first time I was infiltrated was in 1981 when I was working on Salvador. But it just made me think again. It's part of what Kerry said in the beginning about people who have the courage to stand up for those who don't have a voice for whatever reason. People who are willing to stand up for the immigrants who should have justice in this country and not be treated like lesser humanity because they came here some other way. Or the young mostly African American and Latino men who populate our prisons because they are not white, or the Trayvon Martins who are shot while others stand their ground with concealed weapons and call that good and call that security. Security is not, in my view, the strength of a nation. It is not the strength of national security defending the state. Real security comes from human security, from a people-centered security that gives us education instead of $3 to $5 trillion spent on Afghanistan and Iraq. Think of what we could do with that money. It's human security where every single person who is ill can go and get medical care without facing bankruptcy. It's where people who are properly educated and then can look forward to dignified employment that allows them to provide for their own families. So when you think of peace, don't think about the absence of armed conflict. That's just the barest minimum. Without that, you aren't going to have any peace at all. But if you do not provide for the needs of your people, you do not have real peace. And we need, all of us, I don't care what your age, I'm getting down. You know me trying to get me to shut up. I'm a Yankee, we're pretty tough. Can't help it. Vermont, first state to pass a resolution against corporate personhood. Rock on, Vermont. But no matter how you approach making the world a better place, all of it contributes to peace. Peace is about people. Peace is not about missile defense systems.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Mikhail Gorbachev, President of the former Union Soviet Socialist Republics and Chairman of the 12th World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates.
Да, я уже чувствую усталость, а нам нельзя уставать.
Well, I see that there is some fatigue here, but we must not allow, we cannot afford to get tired, because it looks like we have found the keys to fight the Cold War, to fight armaments, to fight super armaments, to fight ideological conflict. We have started to discuss things. This happened quite recently. We succeeded, and we thought that things will then go forward progressively, but no. It's still difficult. It gets even more difficult to move forward our civilization, to do new things that we all need. And therefore, this summit here in America is the first time that we are holding it here on the American continent, and we have a lot to say, I'm sure. And of course, it could have been done in some other place, but this is the first time that we are here. Even though we have had other summits in other places, a lot of things are happening now, and this summit perhaps must today raise the alarm about many of the things that are happening throughout the world. I have traveled a lot recently. I've had to slow down, but I still get a lot of information about what is happening I hear that there is a lot of concern, a lot of alarm, that people and organizations are concerned, that people are worried, that people are disturbed by what is happening, that people think that the crisis is not over, that we will be living with this crisis for years. And it's true that the changes are painful. When the crisis started, the G20 was created, the group of 20 nations that tried to stop the developments that were affecting every one of us, and also the corporations, the banks, etc. And this is the kind of lifeline of civilization. But now the G20 is not to be heard. There is nothing positive coming from it or from the G8. I remember John Paul II, the late Pope, and my very good friend, a person who was perhaps one of the best representatives of this Christian religion throughout the centuries of human civilization. He said, yes, we do need a new global order, a new world order, a world order that would be more stable, that would be more just and more humane. And this summarizes it all. This is exactly what we need. The question is how the political leaders, how the business leaders, how the non-governmental organizations, the civil society, how they all translate that statement, how they'll translate that goal set by a person whom we all trust into reality, how we translate that intellectual achievement into reality. So here at this summit, we first of all would like to thank our hosts, the government of Chicago, of this wonderful city that reflects the real America, that also reflects the world. So it's wonderful to be here, and we feel here both America and the global world in which we are living. It is changing us. It is breaking our ribs, so to say, because we do not yet know, we have not yet learned how to manage the affairs of this world. And too many people are still with us who got us drawn into many crises, and we have to get rid of those people and to bring in new generations, the generations that would do the same job as we did when we ended the Cold War, when after World War II, after all that sacrifice, we too had to act. So there are people here, the Nobel laureates, who have come here to discuss all these issues. I think we have an excellent tradition of these summits, not only discussing things among ourselves, but speaking out to the people, speaking to others, speaking to the world. But I think that the laureates too, as Lech Walesa, I think, have said, we're not getting any younger, so one day we'll be stepping aside, and therefore we will be discussing what do we do in order to make sure that the young people speak out, the young people who are, I'm sure, at least as good as the previous generations. Of course, there are things that are happening among the youth that concern us, but young people have to be given a chance to take a stand, to take a position in this world, in the context of those problems and the real problems that the world is facing. So this too is what we're going to discuss here. And we've actually started already to discuss this, and it's so good that we started this conference today by visiting the schools in Chicago and talking to the young people there. And I saw that they're looking forward to this. And I think that this should become a tradition. This should become a norm in this, that we talk to young people, that we speak to them. This should become a kind of mechanism of our interaction with young people. We must have this as a regular thing going in our Nobel Laureates Forum. I see those young people sitting up there, and I recognize them. I hope they support this too. So this is something that we need to discuss here. We must act. We must help governments. We must help political leaders. There are many ways in which we can do it. And the media, the television have always actually given us a lot of their attention. They've never neglected our summits. They have made it possible for us to speak out on these issues. Let's take advantage of these opportunities to speak about the challenges that the world is facing. And very little has yet been done to address these main challenges. The challenge of security, meaning that we must rid the world of nuclear weapons, of other kinds of weapons. It's the challenge of poverty and backwardness. That's the urgent issue, and millions of people have now been set in motion as a result of this. There are tremendous migration flows spanning to all continents. And finally, the third big challenge is the challenge that I would even call a conflict between man and the rest of nature. It is a conflict that is challenging us. Look at the problem of water. This is a problem that today is crying out for solutions. 1 billion people do not have access to good drinking water, and 2 billion people do not have access to proper sanitation. Rivers have been polluted, oceans too. The fish stocks are going down. And what's happening to our oceans, to what creates the climate in the world? All of this today is getting worse. There is change, but change for the worse. It seems that we're now attacking those problems. But I think that as Nobel laureates, we have the moral right to speak out, and we need to take the situation in hand to make sure that those declarations that are being made, the declarations, the commitments that are being made by the United Nations, and higher than the United Nations is maybe only God. I think Lech Walesa can say that. But these declarations that are made here on Earth, the commitments that are made here, what's happening? Many statements, multiple resolutions at the highest levels, but nothing is happening. They're not fulfilled. And even though we are not getting any younger, we're getting older, but I think that we must commit our hearts, our souls, and we must be alive, continue to be alive, and to raise these issues and to speak truth. That's right, speak the truth to power, to speak out. I think that's a great slogan. and we'll be doing that. We are very concerned by this continued militarization of the world. We are very concerned that there is a growing momentum of militarism. I think that the minds are militarized. This, I think, in this situation where minds are militarized, dangerous plans are being made and implemented. So militarization must be stopped. This too is what we need to discuss here at this summit. And let us think about how we conclude this summit. I don't think that it should be just 3 days of talking. I think that our hosts who have invited us are equally concerned, and they are trying to awaken us, to awaken the world. We need our voice to be heard, the voice of Nobel laureates, and in order to make this voice heard from here to Chicago, let us say that we cannot accept this gap between words and deeds. To conclude, I understand your applause that you are asking me to wrap it up, and that is what I will be doing. And let me say that what I've said came from the heart, perhaps, in a heated way. You may or may not be surprised that I am so emotional, but what I wanted to say is that we want to accomplish our mission in this spirit, and this is how we want to start our discussion here at this summit. I wish you and all of us success. Let us be frank and let us be responsible. We need all this. We need this, and our people need this, because life is hard for so many people. When I come to America, and I've been coming here for a couple of decades, once or twice a year, and even here in this country, I hear concern. I hear that people are worried more than ever before. I hear people even asking me for advice. They say that, well, you've been through a lot in life. What should we do to improve America? I remember how this question was put to me in Midwest at a lecture that was attended by 12,000 people, and I said to them, my friends, all of us in the world are used to being given advice by America, from America. I am not ready to give advice to you, I said, but perhaps they were right. They gave a signal. America, I think, does need advice. America does need to listen to what people are saying throughout the world. This should concern America. We must unite. We must really join our efforts, and we must, as a democratic movement, to address this. Thank you very much.